Hey fellow Force users, what is up? It's Jasmine, the AhsokaTanoFan, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So as you guys know, today is Disney Plus Day, and of course I got up bright and early hoping for that Obi Wan Kenobi trailer, which unfortunately we didn't get today. However, we did get a little teaser slash behind the scenes look, and we even saw a little bit of concept art as well. So there is a lot to talk about, even though there wasn't so much Star Wars content that was dropped today. We'll talk about Obi Wan, and then we also got to talk about Under the Helmet, the legacy of Boba Fett. So without further ado, guys, let's jump in and let's talk about Obi Wan. So first off, it was really cool seeing the teaser actually. Just seeing the concept art, even though it was leaked yesterday. It was still so cool to have a little bit of a glimpse as to what to expect from the show without giving away too much. In this little teaser, we see Ewan McGregor, of course. There's a couple shots of him even training for his lightsaber duels, which is really exciting. First of all, can we just say how amazing he looks? He looks so in shape and so ready for this role. Seeing that definitely made me excited because I know that there is at least one epic lightsaber duel that we can be excited for from the series, which is obviously the long anticipated and long awaited showdown between Obi Wan and Darth Vader. Before we get more into that, I want to also say you could just definitely see the pure joy in Ewan's face over the fact that he was getting to reprise his character Obi Wan, and you could also see that Deborah Chow was very excited as well. So you know that a lot of work and thought went into this series, so that's something we can definitely be excited about. There was also mention of Hayden Christensen, as we know, who is returning to reprise his role as Darth Vader. So this is going to be really intense. You know that they are going to have that epic lightsaber showdown, as I mentioned. Now the question is, as far as Hayden goes, are we actually going to be seeing his face in flashbacks, or is there going to be a moment similar to what happened with the lightsaber duel in Rebels between Ahsoka and Vader, where he cuts his mask somehow and then we see a glimpse of Hayden under there? That remains to be seen, but either way, we can definitely look forward to Hayden coming back, and I'm very interested in seeing the dynamic between the two of them and when exactly this duel will take place in the series. I assume it'd probably likely be towards the end, because it definitely seems like something that would be finale worthy, or at least in the penultimate episode. It also looks like they are having their duel on Mustafar, which is interesting, obviously, because that's where they had their duel back in Revenge of the Sith. Speaking of which, there were quite a few shots of Revenge of the Sith seen in this teaser trailer. We also see Vader in what looks to be his lair or something to that effect, and he is before some hologram, and we're not 100% sure who he's talking to in that image. It could be Sidious. If so, maybe he's talking to Sidious about Obi Wan, kind of like how he spoke to Darth Sidious about Ahsoka and Rebels.
The apprentice of Anakin Skywalker lives.
Skywalker's apprentice could lead us to other lost Jedi,
Such as Kenobi.
My other thought is it could be an Inquisitor, because there is a shot of concept art that looks to feature an Inquisitor. Some have even questioned whether it's the Seventh Sister, which could definitely be possible because she is alive during these events. So is it an Inquisitor that Vader is talking to there? And of course, if he is talking to the Inquisitor, is it about Obi Wan and how he senses his presence, he knows where he is? It should be really exciting to see what happens with the Inquisitors as well. Shit, can people stop calling? It should be interesting to see what happens with the Inquisitors as well, because we know they played a huge role in Rebels, as well as the Ahsoka novel, and they are pretty terrifying, even though Ahsoka completely owned them in Rebels. They definitely are a force to be reckoned with, no pun intended. So we can definitely assume that they're gonna create some problems for Obi-Wan, and he might have to whip out the lightsaber a couple times more than he wants to fend them off potentially. But of course, if that's the case, that means we get more epic lightsaber action, which I can't argue with that. Is it possible he's speaking to Obi-Wan even in the hologram? This might be less likely, but that would also be pretty intense if we could see the former Master and Padawan communicate with one another that way ahead of their epic lightsaber duel. We got to see a lot of beautiful concept art. The majority of the images look to me to take place on Tatooine. One of them looked like it could be Coruscant. Another was a planet I didn't recognize actually. It kind of had like a green type background. Almost looked like it could be underwater or something like that. And it showed a lot of the stormtroopers. And there was one shot some people have pointed out could be an Ord Mantell. This is something that Star Wars Meg actually mentioned in her video, which was that there is a comic series about Qui-Gon and Obi Wan that took place actually on Ord Mantell, and Ord Mantell was seen frequently in the Bad Batch. That's where the Bad Batch encountered Sid. So it's very possible that part of the Obi-Wan series could take place here, and he could have returned there to the same place he once was at with his former master, Qui-Gon. But then if that's the case, begs the question, what's he doing there? Does that somehow have to do with the final task he has to complete to keep Luke safe? That is something key that Deborah Chow mentioned in this video, which was that he had to perform a final task to keep Luke safe. That could potentially refer to him delivering Luke to Tatooine at the end of Revenge of the Sith, or it could be something else that we didn't know about that we are now going to be shown in this Kenobi series. There's obviously still a lot of questions I have, as I'm sure many people have. I think we really need to see that trailer right about now, but there's still plenty of time for that to happen. We do even have Disney Investor Day coming up next month as well. So I assume we'll be getting this trailer sooner rather than later. And of course, I'm just wondering if we're going to see any familiar faces in the series. Ahsoka. Of course, I would love to see Ahsoka. I think it's a prime opportunity. In the Clone Wars, Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan were like the three musketeers. And so if they're going to tell this part of Obi-Wan's story and have Hayden come back as Anakin/Darth Vader, it's very possible that we could see Ahsoka show up. We had a cast reveal much earlier in the year. I think it was this year. Might have been last year. For the Obi-Wan series. And one actress in particular is someone who I think could potentially play Ahsoka. Her name's Moses Ingram. I assume we'll find out more as time goes on. I don't expect the trailer to show too much though in terms of any surprise appearances or character appearances from prior shows, because they probably will still want to maintain that element of surprise. So that's my take on the Obi-Wan sizzle reel behind the scenes look. You guys should definitely check it out if you haven't already. It's definitely worth watching, even though it's like a minute long. It's sweet, short, and straight to the point. And now let's talk some Boba Fett. I do love all of Star Wars, but I really grew up more with the prequels than I did the original trilogy, obviously. So this special actually taught me some things I didn't even know about the character, and just really delved into the whole reason why people were so interested in him in the first place. They really explained the origins of his costume, how his costume was initially intended to be part of what was going to be called super troops, elite troops for the Empire, and it was actually originally white. But then the costume ended up evolving into becoming Boba Fett. They talked about his T-visor and how that became very meaningful because it kind of made him stand out. It kind of gave him more of a mystery Western type feel. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that T-visor would go on to be so symbolic and so prevalent in Star Wars. I mean, that is what Jango Fett wears. That's what the Mandalorians wear, as we see Mando wear Din in The Mandalorian, and all of the clones. Just anytime you see that T-visor, you think back to Boba Fett is basically what they were saying. They showed the first time he was actually shown in footage, his costume. At the time, the costume was still white. But just interesting to see how they slowly built up this character. They even had him appear in a holiday Christmas special cartoon before he had actually made his debut in The Empire Strikes Back. So that was kind of cool. He was also in a parade as well alongside Vader, so people were kind of wondering who he was. I really like that approach of showing a character off before actually having them in the movies. That was pretty cool. And then of course, when he was in the movies, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, he didn't have much dialogue. I think they said he even had like just over 6 minutes of screen time. That is probably what added to the reason why people liked him so much. As they mentioned in the special, there was a lot of mystery surrounding him. You didn't really know much about him. Kind of like Vader. You didn't know much about Vader in the beginning. That's why they went back into the prequels. And just like Vader, the mask was his face. That's what they mentioned in the special. I kind of like that approach by George to just kind of have characters in there that are a little mysterious, not really give them too much backstory, and not necessarily give them that much screen time, but then that's ultimately what makes the fans want more. And I think it especially works for villains. They of course talked about Jeremy Bulloch as well, who was the original Boba Fett, how he came about getting the role. And of course, you know, as we know, he passed away last year, but he definitely started something huge in the Star Wars community. And you could tell he really loved the fans and really cared for the character he was playing. And he got to originate this character. There's not many people that can do that. And later on in the special, they end up showing, of course, Temuerra Morrison and Daniel Logan. Daniel Logan, his segment I really enjoyed actually because, well, first of all, he mentioned the Clone Wars, which is my baby, as you guys know. I love the Clone Wars. But just kind of hearing him reminisce about what it was like working alongside Temuerra Morrison, who was at the time playing Jango Fett in Attack of the Clones, it just really brought back a lot of nostalgia. And actually, when you look at Daniel Logan, now that he's grown up, actually looks like Temuerra Morrison, so that casting was spot on. He talked about their bond that they had as father and son, Temuerra and Daniel, and how they really got into the role. And then you see, obviously, Temuerra Morrison, they showed him as Boba in The Mandalorian, which all of this is perfect timing because it's just ahead of the Boba Fett series, Book of Boba Fett, which is set to debut next month in December. Just showing the overall progression of the character and the various actors that have walked in the character's shoes, that have played this character from young to older, is just really astounding. And I think it just shows how far this character has come, Boba Fett. And I'm glad that they took him from being a character that had barely over 6 minutes of screen time that was killed off to now a character who has a story that is progressing far beyond that. And I think people also like the jetpack, to be honest with you. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think before Boba Fett we saw jetpacks used really. I think he might have been the one that pioneered the way for other characters we've seen who have since used jetpacks, you know, like Pre-Vizsla comes to mind, and other Mandalorians as well. Anyways, you guys let me know what you thought down below in the comments of both the Obi Wan teaser behind the scenes look, as well as the Boba Fett special Under the Helmet. Did you guys enjoy these? I know again that we were hoping for a trailer, but I do think it has to come soon. We'll just have to keep an eye out for that and see when exactly that is. But it's always nice to get more Star Wars content nonetheless, and I know there's lots more for us to look forward to in the near future. So that's it from me, guys. I will see you in the next video. Until next time, take care, and may the Force be with you.